Greetings! Welcome back to the Osha Cerese Show. I am your host, Osha Cerese, and this is your weekday reset for Real Talk. Real Talk. This is where culture meets coaching, where healing meets headlines, and where we utilize alchemy to transmute gossip into growth. So thank you for pulling up. If you have not already subscribed to my channel, please do so now. This is where the Osha Cerese Show lives on YouTube. It's linked in my bio to make it easy for you. Or if you type in browser type of person, it's youtube.com/at Osha Cerese. Thank y'all for pulling up. I appreciate y'all. I was up last night. I'm always up. But I'm a little late today because of the reason why I'm up. I was up late. So I thought about it and I'm like, I am talking for at least an hour every night. And I don't want it to just be limited to those of us that are YouTube people or, other platforms that I have it on. So I was like, I need to find a way to get my audio onto the podcast platforms. So I did find a way. Shout out to Broken Traditions for his suggestion. I took his suggestion, but I messed up. What I did was I used the platform that he suggested, but I did it on my computer because I was afraid that if I downloaded my audio on my phone that it would make my storage full, and I didn't want to deal with that. So I did it on my computer, and I done messed around and got a virus on my laptop. This laptop is old faithful too. It's barely hanging on, but it's like the OG because my newer laptop has been out of commission. So I said, saying all that to say, I ended up finding a way to do it from my phone that worked out. So half of the episodes are already up on wherever you stream podcasts. Well, I ain't gonna say wherever. They are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and iHeartMedia. So that's where I put them so far. So if you are a person that likes to listen to audio as you're driving, you can check it out there from now on. So I will be all caught up with uploading the past episodes by this weekend, and then starting next week they'll be uploading weekday, daily during the week. So that's what I was working on last night. But anyway, happy episode 47. We're going strong. We're going to do a toast. This is passion fruit and lemonade, which is our drink of the evening. And we're just going to do a toast to a great episode 47. We're going to do a toast to, of course, happiness, great health, abundance, love, success, joy, bliss, happiness, all the things. I think I said happiness twice. We're trying to be real happy. But also, acceptance, because sometimes things don't always go our way, but we have to be able to adjust, adapt, and go with the flow of some of these shifts that occur. So I'm just going to do a toast to that. Cheers. All right. So let's go ahead. Oh, let me reiterate. I'm Osha Cerese, certified life coach, event curator, dream doula, supporting you with birthing your ideas into reality. And we got some things in store for you today. So I was supposed to be here on March 27th. We're a couple minutes late, don't tell nobody. But of course, we're celebrating Black History all year long, and specifically celebrating Women's History Month in the month of March. So today's Women's History Month spotlight is going to none other than the Queen of Christmas, Mariah Carey. And I chose to spotlight her because today is March 27th, is her, what we would call her birthday, what she would call her anniversary. So let's get into it. She's not just a singer. As you know, she's an amazing songwriter, a producer, and a record-breaking icon who has shaped the music industry for over 3 decades. So let's dive into her journey a little bit. Again, born March 27th, 19... All right now. I don't need them viruses coming up. If y'all hear a whole bunch of pop-ups, I'm gonna have to shut this computer down. um, March 27th, 1969, in Huntington, New York. She was raised by a single mother, Patricia Carey, who was an opera singer and vocal coach, and her father, Alfred Roy Carey, was an aeronautical. Is that right? Aeronautical? Aeronautical engineer. I guess he was an engineer for planes. Growing up biracial in a predominantly white community, she faced racial discrimination and challenges that shaped her perspective. She began singing and writing. Oh, lost my notes. Hold up, hold up. Let me go back. Let me go back. Okay, so she began. Nope, I went back too far in my notes. Hold on. Okay, so yes, again, her father was an aeronautical African American man or engineer. He was African American and also Afro Venezuelan heritage. So, of course, she grew up facing a lot of challenges in her community, but she did find solace in music. She began to sing at the age of 3 and later wrote poetry and lyrics during her school years. Her self-titled debut album in 1990 introduced the world to her 5-octave vocal range, and the album produced 4 #1 singles on the Billboard Hot 100, including Vision of Love and Emotions. Okay, throughout the 1990s and 2000s, Mariah released numerous chart-topping songs. One Sweet Day, a collaboration with Boyz II Men that held the #1 spot for 16 consecutive weeks, which was a record at the time. We Belong Together was named the most successful song of the 2000s by Billboard. That's deep. Of course, like I already coined her, she's the queen of Christmas. Her 1994 holiday album, Merry Christmas, features the favorite of everybody, All I Want for Christmas Is You. Like, as soon as every year when Halloween, the day after Halloween, you're going to see a video on Instagram of Mariah Carey unthawing or something, and she going to hit that high note. It's time! I probably can do it if I try, but I ain't gonna do it here. But she gonna hit that high note, and the Christmas celebrations will ensue after that. It's definitely become a seasonal classic, and she has sold over 220 million records worldwide, making her one of the best-selling music artists of all time. Her awards include 5 Grammy Awards. I'm surprised she doesn't have more. 10 American Music Awards and 19 World Music Awards. In 2020, she was inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame, recognizing her contributions as a songwriter for 18 of her 19 #1 hits. So some of my favorite albums or songs by Mariah Carey, one of them is a collaboration. She's also really known for collaborating with hip-hop artists. When she first came out, of course, a lot of people had that debate of, is she black? Is she, do we consider her black? And then, of course, in the black community, some people say it's anti-black to go with the one drop rule because it was given by oppressors. And some people go along with the one drop rule. So your daddy black, your mama black, you black. But I believe Mariah Carey has always pretty much identified as a black woman or biracial. So when she came out, she had a certain image, and she's kind of pop starish. So she did always do the dope collaborations with the hip hop artists. So my favorite song by her is a collaboration with Bone Thugs and Harmony called Breakdown. Love that song. Love, love, love. I want to say Stevie J had produced that song or wrote some of the lyrics or something. And My All is one of my favorites. Shake It Off is one of my top Mariah Carey songs because it's just the nostalgia of what it meant for me during that time around 2005, which is 20 years ago. I can't believe it. So yeah. And then there's a song called is it Mine Again? I like Mine Again. I like Fly Like a Bird, which is kind of like gospelish. But she has some hits for sure. Of course, we know that she's had some public relationships. She was married to music executive Tommy Mottola from 1993 to 1998. What's up, Vigilante? He says she got a dope song with Meek Mill. I don't know if I've heard that one. Probably. I don't know. In 2008, she married actor and comedian Nick Cannon, with whom she shares her twins, Monroe and Moroccan. They were born in 2011, and the couple did divorce in 2016. When they got married, when they announced their relationship, people were shocked because who would have placed Mariah Carey with Nick Cannon? Nobody, especially with the type of guys that she was dating before that. Like Tommy Mottola was way older than her. So when she stepped out with young Nick Cannon, it was a shock. And it's still kind of shocking to this day for some, but now he's got a plethora of children by a plethora of women, and he has moved on. And she has too, for sure. I don't think he's technically moved on because he has mentioned several times in different interviews that he's still crazy about Mariah Carey, and he probably still would be with her if she took him back. But they divorced in 2016. When they were together, they would get married every year, have a wedding every year, kind of like Jackie Christie and her husband. But Mariah Carey has also been linked to Australian billionaire James Packer and more recently the musician Anderson .Paak. She actually sued a guy one time for wasting her time. I want to be I need to contact my lawyer, because if we could do that on a certain scale that we're not millionaire status yet. If we could sue somebody for wasting our time, let me call the lawyer now. But in 2001, Mariah Carey experienced a physical and emotional breakdown, leading to hospitalization for severe exhaustion. Y'all, we need to get our rest. You cannot work yourself into an early grave. In 2018, she revealed her diagnosis of bipolar disorder, shedding some light on mental health awareness and the importance of seeking help. Of course, beyond music, Mariah Carey has showcased her acting skills in films like Precious, earning critical acclaim for her role. And then she's also co-founded Camp Mariah with the Fresh Air Fund in 1994, providing inner city youth with opportunities to explore career development. So Mariah Carey is one of the GOATs. You know, she used to be compared to Whitney Houston. I don't think that they're even in the same type of category, but they're both talented, and they had these rumors around that they weren't getting along or that they were battling each other when they actually got along in real life. And I think that that's still going on to this day, where for some reason people feel like there can't be more than one successful woman in the building, in the industry, in the room, and on the job, whatever. So I'm glad that they did not fall for the okie doke. So I wanted to talk a little bit about, because all of a sudden, you know, recently Mariah Carey has stepped out with Anderson .Paak. And let me see how old he is. Let me see. He is, okay, he's 39. And she is 56 as of the 27th, which we're going to say is today. 56 and 39. Now, they're grown. That is a, what? 39, that's 1, that's 40. 17-year difference. Hey. Vigilante says, I'm gonna let you guess which new singer is the second coming of Mariah. Which new singer is the second coming of Mariah? The only person that I know gets compared to Mariah a lot is Ariana Grande. Um, so I've noticed a trend in a lot of, these celebrity women, grown ass women. They getting them some young tenderonis. So, Mariah Carey got Anderson .Paak. I don't know if I would consider him a tenderoni. He ain't my type per se, but hey. Cher's got whatever the dude is that Amber Rose's baby daddy is. What's his name, y'all? I just want to know what's really going on with that. They look like they feeling each other. I don't know, but she's up in age and he's a young guy, and I don't know, something's fishy about him. But Mariah Carey, she's got her. She stepped out with him, and I've heard a lot of men saying that they prefer older women lately. I know that there's a plethora of men who prefer younger women and a plethora of women who prefer older men. But I'm starting to see a lot of the dynamic of older woman, younger man. And it's not always like, lately I haven't been seeing so much of the word cougar being thrown around as much. It's just grown people doing grown people things. Vigilante says, bingo, Ariana Grande. Yep. So, what y'all think? How do you feel about generational gaps or age gaps between men and women when it comes to the woman being older and the man being younger? I have personally talked to several older women above the age of 50 who are in relationships, in marriages, even the ones that are single. And I've heard them say that they prefer younger because the younger ones can keep up with them energetically, sexually, and just not as much pushback when it comes to stepping outside the comfort zone. So, and I hear it both ways. I hear older men saying the same thing, with women more so wanting younger women because they feel they're more malleable and impressionable and willing to do certain things. So, I mean, as long as you're grown, you got to do what works best for you. I say consider the long term as well, even though you can't predict what's going to happen with anybody. But when it comes to age, I don't know why I smell fire. Hold on. Pause. Okay. I just had to check to make sure I wasn't tripping. I think it's this laptop, the fan. But when I consider as a 36-year-old woman, when I've dated older men, um in my 30s, I haven't really dated anybody older than 40 something, but in my 20s, I was more open to dating older. So when I was in I was still married in the first half of my 20s, but like mid 20s, late 20s, I was open to dating older, and I would date guys that were in their 40s and even dated someone that was in their 50s. Actually, no. Let me put that back. They were in their late 40s or mid 40s. They're in their 50s now. So that same person still has interest, but my interest has changed because I'm like, it's cool. Older men can be fun. They can be exciting. Like the older man that I did date that was like 20 years older than me. we always had a good time. He dated me, courted me, we dance, we laugh. Every time we see each other or talk to each other, we're gonna have a good kiki. We cool. It's all good. But then when I think about seasons and places in where we're at in our lives, that was one of the reasons why I ended it with him, among some other things. But just being realistic with myself. If I want to have children and, thinking about 20, 30 years from now, what our dynamics are going to look like when it comes to strength, energy, health. Prayerfully, I hope that he stays healthy and strong his whole life. If he lives to 100 plus, I hope that he stays healthy, strong, and I wish the same, pray the same for myself. But at the same time, when you have a 20-year age gap, you have to consider, say in 20 years from now, I will be 56 and he would be 76. So 56 is still really young. 76 is young too. But then let's say 30 years, 66 and 86. I don't know. You have to consider stuff like that. Vigilante says 18 and up will always be legal. Anything past that is fair game. I don't see age. I just see legal and illegal. I definitely see age when it comes to that. Now, I feel like once you get in your late 20s, then age gaps are whatever you want to do. But I think teenager, under 25, I do side eye. I'm gonna be honest. I side eye grown people that are 15, 20 plus years older wanting to date teenagers and people in their early 20s. Not saying that there aren't some people that are very mature for their age and, well traveled, intelligent, have great personalities. I just feel like you should let somebody's frontal lobe um, completely develop and allow them to, you know, understand themselves and what life is before you try to get them in a relationship with your grown ass. That's just my personal opinion. What's up, realist? So I'm not with the legal illegal at all. So because my thing is, okay, what if tomorrow they pass a law, because they're passing laws willy-nilly these days. What if they pass a law that 12 is legal or 14 is legal? Does that mean that, okay, 50, 40, 30 plus year old men, we gonna start marrying 12-year-olds because it's legal? Like, at some point you have to have your own personal morals and standards and boundaries when it comes to dating super young people. And especially if I don't know if you've actually been around any teenagers or early 20 something year olds lately. And I know you're younger than me. You're like 6 years younger than me. So 6.5 years younger. So maybe with you just leaving out of your 20s, maybe it doesn't seem so far away for you that early 20s is still acceptable for you to date. But when you're in your 30s, like deep into your 30s plus, still considering dating, I really want to call them children, young people, fresh out of high school, fresh out of their parents' homes. I just think that it's inappropriate. That would kind of take credit away from the woman who do mature faster than other women. Um, Even if you do mature faster than other women, you're still a young woman. Now, I will say that when I was much younger than my ex-husband. When I met him, we're 7 years apart. When I met him, I was 16. He was 23. When I look back on it, if I knew any 16-year-olds talking to 23-year-olds, I would be like, what the hell is wrong with him and what you got going on? But the maturity level was, I pretty much matched his maturity level for the most part. But of course, he had lived so much more than me that I was still a young lady. I was still a teenage girl when we got married. When we moved in together, I was 19. When we got married, I was 22. But there was just some things, as mature as I was so inexperienced, and there were just certain things that I know personally my life would have been different had I not decided to date an older man at such a young age. And I don't regret anything at this point, because you can't, turn back the hands of time. Everything happened for a reason. But would I advise a young lady of that age to be getting serious with a man of that age? No. And then when it like when he and I got married, his father his father's girlfriend was younger than me. So she was younger than me by a few months or something. So when we got married, I had just turned 22. His dad's girlfriend was 21. They ended up staying together, I think, until he passed away recently. But I know that he used to say, or she used to complain publicly on the internet, that he didn't really like women once they turned 25. And so even though she was a country, southern Mississippi woman that probably had been taking care of folks since she was a little girl, very mature, um, she was still a young lady that I won't say she was robbed of her youth, but she definitely, I think her parents probably encouraged her to be with an older man to kind of give her a better way of life. But it's still strange. I don't think there's a cutoff age to the ability to be manipulated. Either you're going to be a person who can be or can't be. I don't think it's age or gender. Just can or can't be. Yeah, you can be manipulated at any age, for sure. But when it comes to a grown person choosing to be with teenagers, and again, if you're in your 20s and you're dating somebody that's in their early 20s, no problem. But I'm talking about like 30 something plus, choosing to date women that are in their early 20s and teenagers. Again, I asked the question, have you hung out with or spent any time with people who are between the age of 18 and 25 lately? Because when I was working as a pediatric nurse, my patients went up to age 21, newborn to 21. And so we think, you're 18, you're an adult, you can handle all your business. But my patients who were 18 to 21, they were kids. They did not know how to handle business. They didn't know how to be in charge of their life, their health, their appointments, and all of that, getting their documents together. They're beginning to know. They're learning. They're getting a fresh start in life. They have the support of their parents still and all of that. But even the most mature, I have some very mature and responsible people that I know who are under 25. But then when you really spend time with them, they are still immature in many ways, or they are green in many ways. They are inexperienced, and some things, you know, you're going to learn through life and relationships and all of that as well. But I think that it's interesting that certain older men decide to limit their relationships to teenage girls and girls that are in their early 20s when they are 30 something plus. Very, very interesting. But I wanted to bring up this topic because I saw a viral post on Instagram, and let me give the person who said it a shout out, their name, let's see, or a credit. So at Tuco F Baby, he said, I stopped dating a girl because no woman in her family had a man. And I wanted to discuss that because when I was reading the comments, initially it seemed like a lot of women were offended by that. And then there were a select few that understood, and a lot of men, of course, understood it. Before we get into the comments, let me read this comment by Vigilante. He says, yeah, I hang with 18 and 25-year-olds all the time, in really all age groups every day. People age faster when they neglect health, but people who prioritize health are forever young, like The Rock. When you speaking about health and being forever young as far as maintaining your health and your youthfulness, That's one thing, but I'm talking about something completely different. But I hear you. Anyway, um, so again, his post says, I stopped dating a girl because no woman in her family had a man. So some of the comments say, so we should leave y'all because y'all mamas was BMs instead of wives. Bogus. Can we normalize loving women again versus looking for reasons not to? That was by a man. Another man said, and they're all giving your lady relationship advice. Um, a woman said, as women, I think we can learn from this tweet. Men will remove themselves from the equation at the glimpse of a possible, maybe not sure yellow flag. As women, we tend to move forward um, and think that for whatever reason, our love will change them or it will be different with us. Newsflash, we're not the exception, we're the rule. If we thought more like them and remove ourselves as signs of possible hurt in the horizon, we would be in a better place as a whole. Someone else said, wish I could mute posts like this. Same conversations every day. Um, Someone else said, you didn't want to break the cycle. A man said, this actually says a lot. I legit see the point of view. And another man said, I promise you this is more valid than y'all may think. They've never seen or been taught what a relationship takes or endures. Instead, will constantly tell you how to be a good man while comparing you to the advice of lonely, bitter women. Um, a couple of women said did her a favor. To be honest, these men think they're the prize, but half of y'all daddies ain't married to y'all mamas. So um, I understand why people would take offense to that or feel a type of way of that because really, uh, everybody doesn't. Everybody is not necessarily a product of their environment. Even if everybody else's route and love story in life went a certain way, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's what you want for yourself or that's the path that you're choosing or that you're um looking to follow in the footsteps of people that have chosen to be single for whatever reason. But I also understand what he's saying as well. And I think that it's important to know what your values are and know what is important to you. And I always say vetting doesn't just stop at the person that you're dating, it also goes into the family dynamics and where they came from as well. And you have to base your morals and value system on, whatever principles you stand on. And if that's something that is a deal breaker for you, then I say kudos for him for knowing that and for enforcing that. And nobody should force him to date anybody that he doesn't want to date. On the flip side, again, he could possibly, like somebody said, he didn't want to break the cycle. Who's to say if you met a great woman and all of the women in her family are single, but she's taken the time to understand the importance of marriage. She's taken the time to value men in her life. She has prioritized being the person to break that cycle. And you could possibly be missing out on a good woman because you judged her based on the other women in the family. So I get either way. But I will say, you know, um, those generational cycles can be a factor, and for sure. And I think a lot of people, especially us millennials, we are taking the time to break those generational curses and routines. I will say, me personally, I have both dynamics. I have women in my family who have children that are single. I have women in my family that have had children from multiple men. I have women in my family who have been married and have all of their children from one man and they raise them together. I'm a product of a two-parent home, but my parents weren't married. They was just together. They raised me together. So I have all kind of examples of different dynamics. And I will say that I find value in all of the women in my family from the things that they say to me. I don't there's I don't take advice or listen to people who come from a bitter point of view. And I don't advise anybody to do that. If somebody just has a chip on their shoulder, they're not really the one to give the advice that you should be taking. So some people have lived and learned. Some people have some great gems. And I'm not going to say I don't take advice from people that are bitter. I just take it with a grain of salt. I take all advice with a grain of salt. You take what resonates and leave what doesn't. Because even the people that may be coming from a bitter place, it could be, something in their message that still makes sense for something that can be beneficial for your journey. So I think that it's important to kind of not judge people just based on the family dynamics before you've really vetted them. Because again, this woman, she come from a long line of women that don't have no man. Okay, why is that? What's the reason? Is it because something wrong with these women, that they have bad attitudes, that they don't get along with men, don't like men, don't value men? Did the men that they choose hurt them, and so it made them harden their heart and not want to pursue relationships after that? Did it did the men that they chose the men that they chose in their lives, were they abusive? Were they, did they have mental health issues? What's the root of the reason why these women ain't got no damn man? And then you have to find out why that woman, I think I'm saying words wrong because I can't really hear myself talk with this hair over my ear. Somebody said I saw a post the other day that said my locks is getting so long I can't hear. And I felt that. Let me clear my ears. But I think it's important to get down to the root issue of why things are going on. If you meet somebody that's a good person, they have great qualities, you're getting along well with them, and then you find this out, I don't think it's like just off top, okay, I'm good. Don't nobody in their family got a man. You like this person for a reason. It's something about them that has gotten you to this point of knowing about their family or meeting their family. So dig a little deep. Vigilante says, yes, that's a yellow flag, not a red flag. She could be the exception. Rose from the concrete. Shout out to Pop. Absolutely. And the women in my family were a great example. Everyone in my family got married, went to school, worked, got kids, etc. We don't do gender roles in my family, and I love that upbringing. Yeah, I think that it's beautiful to have examples in your family that you can, be inspired by. But there's also the reality of things that sometimes you can be inspired on what not to do. And that's important to be able to see as well. I always say to my little cousins and stuff, like, you ain't got to go through certain things that we went through, because you can learn from my example. You can learn from our mistakes. You don't have to experience them firsthand. If you got some questions, if you want to know the reality of things and certain types of incidents, you don't have to. Some people feel like they got to personally go through stuff. I don't advise it. Just lean into the women in your family as a young lady, and the men. I'm grateful and thankful for having both act. Like I said before, I had my grandmothers in my life. I had my grandfathers as well, not as close as my grandmothers. Both of my grandmothers experienced divorce, or separation. So my paternal grandmother was married twice, married to my grandfather, had multiple children. She has 8 total. And then she was married to her second husband, who she has my uncle by. And then she got divorced. And then my maternal grandmother and grandfather were married, and they just were separated for years. I think they may have gotten a divorce officially a little shortly before she passed. Maybe not. I don't know if it ever went through. But so I was able to, learn about some of the things that they went through, why they chose to end those relationships. I was able to witness their dynamics after that. And then I have lots of aunts and uncles because my dad is one of 8, my mom is one of 5. So I appreciate being able to see the dynamics of their relationships as well. Have aunts that have been in relationships my whole life before I was even born that are still with them, still married. Of course, one of my aunts is a widow now, but I was able to see her and her husband and the decisions that they made together, raising their children together, co-parenting her oldest, who was from a previous relationship. Um, just so many different dynamics. Even the aunts or family members that have had children from different men, like just how they navigated their situations and how they prevailed. I find inspiration in all of it, but I will say I understand that that is important. So, like, I agree with you, Vigilante. It's a yellow flag, and one of my yellow flags, which is why I didn't side eye that post as much. I've, in the recent years, have started to feel like I would prefer a man who was also raised by both parents. And it's not a deal breaker and it's not a red flag on their part because they can't control how they were raised. But I've just noticed, personally, I've noticed certain differences when a man is raised by his mother only and when a man is raised by even his father only. It's not that it's just a single mother thing. It's just something I've noticed within men when they don't have access to both parents growing up. Vigilante says, I don't think marriage is for everyone. It's okay to be single and happy, know what you want, and enjoy your journey. The issue is most people come from a bitter place and use Instagram and TikTok as a trash dump. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. There's totally um, an opportunity to be single and happy. And I will say this, I've tried to say, because I promote being single and happy. That's why I wrote this book, How to Beat Single. It's all about being single and happy. But also, I have to clarify for people that just because you are single and happy doesn't mean that you don't desire a relationship. And some people get it twisted, thinking that because you can find happiness and joy on your journey of single or your season of single, that that means that you just, are anti-relationship. So I say happy and single, sometimes not necessarily happily single, because you want a different dynamic, but you're patient and you have your standards and you do what you got to do. Um, but yeah, so I would say that sometimes I have considered in the recent years that I do prefer men who have been raised in two-parent homes. It's something about men who have experienced that they just kind of have a better grasp on um, knowing how to be a man to a woman. They have certain values of not necessarily gender roles, but just wanting to be in a position to, I would say they value family in a different way. And I'm not generalizing everybody, but I've noticed a lot of guys who were raised with both parents, they value marriage, they desire marriage. And I've seen some guys who have one or the other. I would say some unhealed, which healing is a process, I understand, but like people that have not even started to try to heal certain wounds that they have, um, can just have a certain outlook on marriage, outlook on family dynamics. Sometimes men that have been raised by single mothers automatically want their woman or feel that their woman should suffer or, not have it easy because their mother didn't have it easy. Different things like that. So I'm not saying that I wouldn't date someone that wasn't raised by both parents, but I do add that into my vetting process of who are your male role models in your life. And I've talked to some guys that cannot answer that question. They don't have anybody that they would consider a positive male role model in their lives. And to me, that is a red flag. Now, you can't, again, you don't have any control over how you were raised, what your parents did and didn't do. But if your mother or your father or whoever raised you, grandparents, didn't provide you with a positive role model, once you got old enough to seek that out, why don't you have one now? Whether that's a mentor, whether that is an elder in your community, even a damn therapist or somebody that is helping you with your mental health from a male or masculine role or perspective. Vigilante says, a woman taught me how to make stuffed salmon pasta shells last night. First date. The only reason we can enjoy that and be okay with cooking with her is because both my parents cooked as well. So I agree. So sounds like a nice date. So yeah, I think that those type of things are important. But when it comes to, let me see how I can word it. Sometimes men that were raised solely by their mothers have an immense respect for women because they respect their mothers, they love their mothers, they honor their mothers, they see what they saw what their mothers went through to get them through life. They seen the sacrifices, they saw the dynamics between her and the absent father or the father that wasn't as present, and so they do have a great respect for women, and they um, that respect overflows and overpours into the women that they date. Um, but on the other hand, sometimes they have some type of bitterness and anger toward their mother, for lack of a better term, not choosing better. Um, or they feel like she has some type of responsibility for why their father wasn't present. And so they take it out on her and every other woman that comes into their lives. And then sometimes men that were raised with just their fathers, they kind of lack the nurturing that they would have received from their mother. They don't really have that balance as much. So they kind of don't even, I'm saying they, but some of them don't really know how to connect well with women. And I've seen the same thing from women who only have a matriarchal type family, grandmother's aunt's mother. They don't have a lot of experience with men. um, Growing up, there weren't men around. In their lives, there weren't men around. The same scenario where he's saying nobody in the family has a man. If a man does come around, it may be toxic or they're not around long. So then when it comes to dating, they're not used to the presence of a man, the things that a man says, the what's the word I'm looking for? Just the ways of a man. Some of the things that a man might do or say may come off as controlling or doing too much to a woman who doesn't have much experience with a man, and somebody that has grown up with men around them in their family, fathers, grandfathers, uncles, cousins. They may be able to receive the man in their lives romantically in a way, some of the things that they say, because they're used to how men operate or how men express themselves, how men communicate. Not saying in an abusive way, but certain tones or certain things like wanting to know, you know, whatever it is that they're asking you, instead of you feeling questioned because you're not used to men in your lives, men in your life questioning you or checking on you or being responsible for you, that sometimes it could be hard to accept. So the same thing with a man who doesn't really have any feminine energy in his life, didn't grow up with a mother, they don't really know how to connect with women all the time. And some of these men have a mother wound. Women have, some women have mother wounds too, depending on their dynamics with their mother. But as far as men, some of the causes of mother wounds in men are emotional neglect, like a mother who is emotionally unavailable. It definitely can lead to feelings of abandonment. And then excessive control or criticism also can hinder a child's development and autonomy of self-esteem. So like men who had a mother present in their life, but that mother was constantly yelling at them, belittling them, criticizing them, verbally and emotionally abusing them, breaking down their self-esteem, their sense of self-worth. they start developing animosity and resentment towards their mother and to every woman. Of course, distrusting women as well. So I get uh, a little cautious when it comes to men raised by one of their parents. I just want to learn more. I would say that. But definitely, again, emotional neglect, if the mother is emotionally distant or physically distant too, they may struggle with emotional intimacy, not being able to connect because they're not used to being vulnerable or being intimate with a woman. And not intimate as in sex, but intimate as in closeness. And then of course, the abandonment issues that the mother wasn't present. So I did date a man who was raised by his dad only, and he did have mother wounds, and we talked about it. And he said that I was the first woman that ever made him feel the desire to reach out to his mom. But even with that, it's like if you haven't begun to do the healing yourself, that's a big responsibility on the woman that comes into your life to be the first person that inspires you to connect with your mother. And then there's going to be a lot of things that come up that you have to be honest with yourself to see if you're really willing to help someone through that. And again, we all come with our set of, I don't want to say issues, but our experiences, our life experiences. And even with all the healing in the world, you could still have things that come up. And relationships are usually one of those um, opportunities to really find out how much work you've done and how much work you still need to do because you're constantly going to be reflected back on. Vigilante says, my situation was kind of interesting. Mom's was a psych major, but her communication style is very gaslighting. She means well, but she lacks self-awareness, and that made me more aware to not gaslight others. Yeah, you definitely have to be careful when you have parents that have certain characteristics like that, because you can either become hyper aware of them within yourself or within others, or sometimes it can, continue on with you. And sometimes you don't even realize you're doing it because it's something that you've grown up experiencing. And it's definitely good to be aware that that's something that you experience, though. But yeah, the communication style, the way a mother talks to her son, of course, I mean, her child in general, but specifically talking about a son, it definitely will make or break a man. There's some men that still are in so much pain by the way their mothers talk to them as children, and it develops so much resentment within them that it can be very dangerous if they haven't done the work to heal, and they just take that to be like, I know I didn't like when my mother talked to me like that, so I make sure, like Vigilante just said, that I'm not going to do that to others. Or they do the exact opposite and just project that pain onto other people. But of course, y'all know therapy. I'm going to always suggest therapy, coaching, anything to just increase your self-development, personal development, self-awareness. Also having healthy female relationships, which I always talk about. You don't have to just be have family and then women that you are sexually or romantically interested in. You can develop healthy platonic relationships with the opposite sex, and they are going to be helpful to you to be able to have a certain level of respect and understanding of women outside of the women that you're attracted to, or even if you are attracted to them, outside of the women that you're intimate with. And then, of course, being able to just emotional intelligence, developing that as a whole, but specifically emotional regulation as well. That's an important one, being able to express your emotions in a healthy way. And before we wrap up, I wanted to also talk about, I just saw Jess Hilarious talking about her journey with her current man, her fiance. She was saying how she initially was looking at their relationship to be just a booty call, somebody that she was just going to smash, and that was going to be the end of it. She was attracted to him. And that's pretty much all she wanted out of it at the moment. But then she said when he um, took her on their first date, he rented out a private area of a restaurant, very nice restaurant in downtown Baltimore. And she said the things that impressed her about him was that, number one, he could have a conversation. And I talk about this all the time, y'all. I don't know what is going on and why people lack conversational skills these days, but I'm hearing it from both men and women that folks ain't talking about shit. People ain't talking about nothing. I know firsthand that sometimes it could be like pulling teeth. Um, and that's just not acceptable for me. So one of the things that she said was that he was able to carry a conversation. And the second thing that she really liked about him is that he did not seem like a clout chaser. He didn't treat her like he's just trying to look for an opportunity, um, or be around her for what he can benefit from. He really wanted to know the real her. And so she was impressed. And she said that the restaurant they were in was actually within a hotel. So she went and got a room and basically, let him know, I got a room, what's up? And he was kind of like, oh, I got to get up and go to work early tomorrow. And she's like, I got a flight tomorrow too. I got to go to work too. But you can leave from here. So they did. And the other part of the interview clip that I saw, I'm going to watch the full episode, but she was talking about how she, again, how she initially wanted it to just be a booty call, how she was down with sleeping with him on the first night. And Shannon Sharp was all taken aback, acting as if he's just like, you know, you giving it up on the first night? And she's like, absolutely. And he's like, I'm old school. A lot of them women wanted to wait a month, 2 months, 3 months. And he says with his own experience with, I guess nowadays with, he's been a successful man for a long time, but he has a higher level of success these days and more well known outside of sports. Um, he said that he gets with women and they want to settle down with him and they be wanting to make him wait a year. So he's like, how you gonna get in the back seat with this dude on the first date, but you want to make me wait a year? So it just made me think about how sometimes women want to place a timeline on intimacy in order to be taken more seriously in the dating market when they really find someone that they feel like they can have a life with, or they can they feel like it's checked off a lot of their boxes on their list. Then I'm saying there, like I'm not a woman. When we feel like a man has checked off a lot of boxes on our list, sometimes we do try to be a little bit more reserved when it comes to intimacy. And then sometimes that's just what journey you're on, because right now I've been abstaining for several years. So I'm not really on the smash and dash booty call type vibe right now. Who's to say how I will feel in the future? But right now, that's not where I'm at. So, regardless of how I feel about if this is a potential long-term relationship or if this person checks off all the boxes in my list, I'm not personally in a space where I'm trying to just hurry up and have sex. Now, I'm not saying that that's off the table, because sometimes you meet somebody and the chemistry is just like that. You have an amazing time. You both grown. You do what you do. And honestly, I don't feel like sex should be used as a tactic to make someone decide whether or not they're going to take you seriously or be with you long term or not. Because somebody can sleep with you on the first night and love you and y'all end up together. I read so many stories in the comments about people saying that they slept with their partner on the first night and they're still together 15, 20 years later. And then somebody can wait for 90 days, and on the 91st day, when you decide to give it up, they bounce on your ass because they just wanted to do that anyway. They felt like, okay, I waited this long, I'm gonna get it, and then I'm gonna get gone. Vigilante said, had sex on the first night with my ex. Relationship lasted 4 years, but neither of us went on the date looking for a fling. Yeah, I think that's we grown. So I don't see anything wrong with people having sex on the first date. It's not, at this point, it's not taboo. I will say at this time, really, it's been a long time. Um, it's important to know statuses and have conversation about sexual health, especially with us living in Atlanta. So the first night sex, it sound cute, but what that my chart looked like. And again, it's still going to be risky because if somebody has not been all the way honest with you, they could have gotten their workup done, say a month ago. Seems fresh. Okay, cool. You ain't got no STDs, STIs. But then they could have had sex 2 weeks ago and contracted something. So, and then of course, a condom doesn't protect you from everything. So I would say that's the only thing about having sex very early. But your first date doesn't necessarily have to be the first time that you've interacted with this person. So if you take your time getting to know people, talking on the phone a little bit before you meet, if you feel like there's some chemistry there just from conversation alone or just from the interactions that you have, women, we know if we would be willing to sleep with a man. And I know I don't feel like I don't know. I feel like men, if y'all are talking to the woman, you willing to sleep with her. So obviously, if you know that this is a possibility, this is something that could be discussed prior to the first date, and then have you a good time on the first date. As for the making me wait game, my rule is any rule you have ever broken in the past does not qualify for me. I follow rules that everyone else has followed only. I That sounds kind of like manosphere talk. Um and that's your standard and your value. You're entitled to have it. Cool, kudos. But I also feel that people evolve, people change, people heal, people grow, people learn from their past, and people have the right to make new rules for themselves. So what you may have done in your early 20s, mid 20s, late 20s, now that you're a 30-year-old man, you may not do those things anymore. And somebody that is talking to you or trying to get to know you should have to respect the rules that you have for yourself right now. So maybe when you were younger, you went all out on first dates. You spent hundreds of dollars and you did the most to impress women, and you realize, I'm doing all of this, but I haven't properly vetted the woman and I feel like I'm wasting my time and my money. So I've learned from that. So now I want to get to know a woman. I want to invite her to something, like a free art gallery or a belt line, walk on the belt line or whatever else for our first date. I want to limit my spending to under $50 for the first date or whatever that is. And so how dare that woman say to you, no, I'm not dealing with you because I know you dated somebody in 2015 and you took her to Nobu. And now I don't even know if Nobu existed back then. And now you talking about you want to meet me on the Beltline for a walk and some ice cream. I don't respect your rule. And I'm not going to say how dare she, but I'm just saying um that's going to be, don't you think that's played? Because those are your dating boundaries. So I guess she can get with it or get lost. And I guess that's the same for you. Like if a woman says, yes, I've slept with a man on the first date, but now I'm not in that season. Now I feel like I don't want to sleep with somebody before I know X, Y, and Z. So I don't have any intentions of sleeping with you on the first date. And you feel like, oh, because back in 2012, you let Ray Ray hit it on the first night, and now you telling me I can't, I ain't with it. I think that's lame, in my opinion, but okay. Vigilante says, I don't care about your growth, change, evolution, or anything. Rules are rules. If you broke them, then you broke them. I guess. Sounds a little, I ain't gonna go there. But I feel like there's somebody for everybody. So you will find you a woman that will allow you to do whatever you want to do, I guess. But I definitely respect people's growth, evolution, changes, shifts in their lives. And I think that it's important to respect that. It's definitely important to respect that. But I think that sometimes that type of thinking, not saying with you, I could say that sometimes that type of thinking can be dangerous, because it can be dangerous and it can be abusive. Um, Example, I keep a story time because I am a survivor of domestic violence. There was someone I was dating that I was an open book to, told him everything, told him details of certain incidents that I had been through with my ex. Um, I hadn't even begun my healing journey at that point. I started learning a little bit, but I was very much still engulfed in the pain of that abusive relationship. And I was very vulnerable, and I overshared so much with him, because I'm thinking we're learning each other, we're getting close. And because I wasn't on my journey of healing, it was just like doing too much, sharing too much, trying to, I guess I was looking for empathy. What I would have wanted was empathy, but I think I was seeking sympathy at that point. Um, and I didn't get either. At first, it was seemingly a little bit of empathy. I see you, Marcus. I'm gonna answer your question in a second. Um, but what he would do, because he knew that I had been in this relationship where it was physical abuse, verbal abuse, all these things. He was very much um, verbally abusive, mentally abusive, um, just belittled me, hurt my feelings a lot, talked to me crazy. And so when I would set a standard to him, like, you can't, don't talk to me like that, don't treat me like that, I'm not going for that. His response would be, that nigga used to put his hands on you and do this, this, and that, and you trying to trip with me because of me saying X, Y, and Z. So what we're not going to do is think that the bar is where someone else treated me. The bar on how to treat me is not where this abuser put the bar. I may have accepted it then when I was younger and when I was going through X, Y, and Z, when I hadn't healed, when I hadn't understood yet, when I hadn't gained my strength and all of the things that is required to have enough confidence to leave an abusive relationship. But don't think that you get to treat me a smidget better than that, or you think just because you're not putting your hands on me that I should accept your verbal abuse. So that's why I say that that type of rhetoric can be dangerous, because you feel like whatever you allowed your exes to do, then I should have the right to do it too. Nah, not at all, not at all. Vigilante says, well, before I get to you, Marcus, you on Instagram, you say, what are your rules? You have to be more specific when it comes to that question, because that's pretty broad. So, um, are you talking about what are my rules when it comes to sex, when it comes to when I'm giving it up, when I'm dating somebody, how I want to be treated? You got to give me a more specific question than that. Vigilante says, easier this morning. I had to write a letter the to relics and commission to. Hold up. Easier this morning. I had to write a letter to the relics and commission to Guinea-Bissau to obtain my dual citizenship. That's of the 1%. Games and new rules don't come into play there. What are you talking about? So you're saying because you getting a dual citizenship somewhere that a woman can't have standards with you or can't have rules? What are you saying? And what has been your personal experience with presenting your thought process with women when it comes to dating? When a woman has a boundary with you and you say, how do you discover whether or not this is a boundary she's had before? What are some examples of a boundary a woman has set that you didn't respect? Because I'm just trying to see how does, in your world, in your dating experience, how what does this look like? How do you find out that they've experienced this or done this or allowed this? Is it something like if a woman has children before, if she's not a virgin, she's not allowed to say that she's not sleeping with you because she's had sex before? Is it if a woman has accepted the bare minimum from a man when it comes to like dating experiences? Is she not allowed to say, I need you to, have this certain level of effort when it comes to dating me? If she's accepted low effort before, is that something that you're not willing to do? And then how would you know that? Give me some examples, please. Vigilante says, I knew you would find a way to minimize what I said. LOL. I respect all boundaries. They give me the opportunity to gauge interest. I got 5 sisters, so I can get information easy from y'all. How did I minimize your comment? I just read it and asked questions and gave my opinion about it. Did I did I repeat what you said wrong, or did I understand it wrong? Just clarify it for me, because I thought that's what I read. You clearly stated, as for the making me wait game, my rule is any rule you have ever broken in the past does not qualify for me. I follow rules that everyone else has followed only. I don't care about your growth, change, evolution, or anything. Rules are rules. If you broke them, then you broke them. You said you're applying for dual citizenship, so games and new rules don't come into play where you're getting your dual citizenship from. So I'm just trying to figure out. I think it would help if you gave me some examples. So you said that you respect boundaries, all boundaries. So basically, okay, so basically what you're saying is if a woman sets a boundary with you that you don't agree with, then you're leaving. You're not dealing with her. Is that is that a little bit more accurate? Please correct me where I'm misunderstanding. And then you said you have 5 sisters, so you can get information easy from y'all. What type of information are you seeking? I'm not going to push no buttons on here because I messed up with that the other day. And while you are writing your response, I will say again, back to the original topic of intimacy on the first date. I think some of the pros of that is it can establish that strong physical connection early on, so you can just, see if the feelings that you have, the tension, the chemistry, the vibe, if it's really about that, and it allows you to see if you all are compatible sexually early on. And then of course some relationships definitely thrive early, even with intimacy, or thrive despite early intimacy. And I think, again, we're grown. So I think it's a matter of your maturity level. If you have sex with someone and you're not, sometimes I've heard a lot of rhetoric around women who sleep with someone on the first date. They would be looked at as a hoe or promiscuous, or the man would be thinking, well, who else did you sleep with on the first date? But then some people are not concerned about that. They like, if we grown, we grown. If we have chemistry, we do. If they're interested in you outside of sex, it's going to continue. It's not, I don't feel like any man that's interested in a woman enough to be dating her would judge her because he slept with her early, if he's really interested. Now, there are some men that will judge a woman who's not completely pure. And it's so crazy to me because, like, man, you want to have sex with women, but you don't want a woman who is sexually liberated or sexually confident or willing to have sex with men that she desires to have sex with. So if you want to have sex with women, who do you plan on having sex with if the women are supposed to just be so pure and reserved for so long? Some of the cons can definitely be an imbalance in emotional and physical connection, because sometimes people don't take enough time to connect um, before sexual intimacy is, or I ain't even gonna call it sexual intimacy, before sex is in the picture without the intimacy. And then sometimes you never get to the intimacy because some people actually think that sex alone is intimacy, but it's deeper than that. And then, of course, there are some people that will judge you, like I was just mentioning, um, and rule you out for long term potential. And then there are some studies that say that relationships that delay intimacy tend to last longer because they build a strong emotional foundation first. Okay. Vigilante says, I'm saying if I can feel that a woman doesn't see me as vigilante, then I'm out. I've learned a lot and I give a lot to women who also deserve a lot. I walk away after 2 red flags. There's a difference between sleeping with someone on the first date, coming into it wanting to be a fling, and having a great date that ends in sex. Big difference. Yes, I agree with that. So when you say if you feel that a woman doesn't see you as vigilante, then you're out, what does that mean? What does a woman seeing you as vigilante actually mean? Does that mean I ain't even gonna try to give multiple choice. You just tell me what it means. And while you're writing that, because we getting a little bit close to being on here too long, let me just let y'all know that if you are someone who is wanting to get on your healing journey, needing some support on your journey of healing, self-love, self-discovery, you can always visit my website at oshacerese.com. I have some great programs on there. One Single Step at a Time is my healing program. 6 weeks of guidance, coaching, weekly coaching, and it comes with the How to Beat Single guided journal. And 5 ways in 5 days, helping you to uncover any blockages you may have with giving and receiving love, and teaching you how to incorporate your love languages into your daily acts of self-love and self-care. It also comes with a free coaching session. And if you would like a life coach like myself, on a weekly basis, bi-weekly, monthly, or quarterly, just book a discovery call for any type of guidance on where to start. If you don't know which program you need to enroll in, or if you just want to get some coaching, feel free to tap in with me and we'll get you set up with the duration that you want. If you are a hopeful romantic single looking for love in 2025, an intentional dater, make sure you are on the Intentional Love Collective that is linked in my bio. And if you are a creative creator, influencer, have some ideas, you don't know what to do with them, have some gifts that you want to monetize and utilize, book a content strategy or a strategy session with me on my website as well. And then, if you have a story that you want to share, a topic that you want me to address, or anything you want me to unpack on the show, you can always email me at oshacerese@gmail.com. oshacerese@gmail.com. Email your girl. And Vigilante says, the same way if a woman doesn't see Chris Brown and Chris Brown, huh? The same way a woman doesn't see Chris Brown and Chris Brown, then he should walk away. He's earned it. The same way, the same way that if a woman don't see Chris Brown as Chris Brown, then he should walk away. He's earned it. Okay. So basically, anybody, you're saying that if they don't see the value in you, then you will walk away. I agree. If anybody doesn't see the value in you, you should walk away. But anyway, y'all, let me give y'all a few journaling prompts to take away from this conversation. We talked about a lot. We talked about dating dynamics with generational gaps. We talked about um, mother wounds, dating people, generational patterns like a woman with no women in her family who are married or in relationships, men who are not raised in two-parent homes, different things like that that you can consider when it comes to dating someone and how to properly vet around that. And we talked about sex on the first date. Is it taboo? Is it normal? What's up? So I would say journaling prompt number one, what generational relationship patterns have you noticed in your family? What generational relationship patterns have you noticed in your family? Second journaling prompt is, have you ever misjudged a person based on first impressions? What happened? And how has your upbringing shaped your views on love and relationships? All right. Vigilante says, not everybody, not that everybody is special thing. I'm talking about the people who have actually earned it. Okay. So who isn't special? That's a topic for another day. But anyway, I appreciate y'all for pulling up. I thank you for the support. I'm still working on this milestone of 200 subscribers. I think I'm gonna see what it looks like if I come on here earlier. And then I haven't done my due diligence with promoting it on other platforms. So I know part of it is my fault. But I'm just hoping that the right people will find it and love it and love pulling up and having a conversation with me. And we'll see. It's going to take off. I'm not going to get discouraged. I've seen a lot of people with YouTube channels growing them organically, and they was putting in that work for, I don't want to claim years. I've had my page for years, but I'm just now, being consistent with it. And then there's an opportunity, something happens, somebody listens to it, something hits, something goes viral, and then things change. And I'm not just looking to go viral just to be seen, but I feel like the conversations that are had are important. And next month, I will be having guests on the Osha Cerese Show, and I will be bringing back connections and conversations. So if that is something that you're interested in being a guest on, please email me as well. If you're interested in being a guest on the Osha Cerese Show, it's going to be more so about these similar topics that we talk about, but I'll also hold space for you to interview you about whatever it is that you do. I'll have a segment about that, and I will invite you to discuss your opinion about the topic. It's probably not going to be every day, but a couple of times out of the week, I will have a guest. And then connections and conversations is actually where there will be at least two people outside of myself, two or more people involved in a panel like discussion. And connections and conversation is more about bridging the gap between men and women. So we'll have more topics that will get opinions of people that may not agree, but we'll be able to unpack on the show and hopefully come to an agreement or at least an understanding with each other. So if you're interested in being on a show, email me. Email me the type of topics that you want to talk about, which show you want to be a part of. If you want to be on both, let me know. And if you have some friends that you want to pull up with that you feel that you would be good with a certain type of topic, I'm open to that. I kind of have put connections and conversations on the sideline. I ain't gonna say the back burner because I wanted to really start doing them in person, which I will. But I told myself I don't need to keep putting things off because it's not perfect. So eventually they will be in person, but I have this platform where I can have it online and virtual and reach people in the same way. So We gonna stop procrastinating and we gonna do what it do. So I appreciate y'all again for pulling up. Make sure you subscribe, share this with a few people. If you're not following me on all platforms, I'm at Osha Cerese everywhere. And I will talk to y'all tomorrow. Good night.